Hey now, everyone. Welcome back to brand new Take Aim podcast, Big Deer and Big Stories. Excited to get a new show out. This week we have Ryan Spinks with us from Quietcat. And if you know anything about Quietcat, they were one of the first ones to kind of bring the electric e-bike to the hunting side, to the hunting market. So excited to have Ryan with us, give us the history of Quietcat and how they started and the progression and how much they've grown. And just what a great tool it is for us as hunters, bow hunters, to use something like a Quietcat. And we go over all the details from parts, production, to models, you name it, it's all in this podcast. Great podcast. Excited to have Ryan with us. And, thanks to him for being on. And as always, guys, deer season never ends. Enjoy the show. It's packed full of great information. See you guys next week. All right, guys, we are live, brand new Take Aim podcast, and excited to get another show out and talk to this guy, Ryan Spinks from Quietcat. Ryan is the product development leader for Quietcat, and super excited to have you on the show today and talk what's going on with Quietcat.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited to tell you all about some of the new things we've got going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Super excited to have Quietcat on just because, to me, you guys, at least on our side in the deer hunting world, you guys are what I would call the leader in e-bikes or electrical bikes. But, Ryan, why don't you give me a little background on kind of just how Quietcat kind of came about and, just like I said, on our side in the deer hunting world, you guys have just kind of pulled away as the leader. And you correct me if I'm wrong, but it definitely seems like you guys are leading with technology, some of the innovations in e-bike stuff. So give us a little bit of the background of Quietcat.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, Quietcat, we are the leader in off-road electric bikes for hunting, fishing, camping, and exploring the great outdoors. We started in 2012. Our founders are twins, and they're really big white-tailed deer hunters. They've got a lodge and a lot of land out in west central Illinois. And they realized very quickly, there's got to be a better way to get to your stands, to get to blinds, to get there scent-free, quietly, and efficiently. The other thing that they realized was they had literally thousands of acres that they'd leased or purchased, and there's not a lot of road access to get there. So they realized that they had leased all of this land, but they're really only hunting about 30-40% of the available land. So how could they go further more efficiently, and then also not only get the gear out there, but get the game back as well. So that's when they started to look at the electric bike technology. And at that time, we're talking 9, almost 10 years ago now, electric bikes were kind of DIY, hobbyist. If you're an electrical engineer and you want to tinker in the garage, you could convert your bike to electric. So fast forward over a few years, and as Quietcat started, we really focused on how can we build high-power, quiet, utility-style electric bikes that our outdoor enthusiasts could use for things like hunting and fishing. That, of course, evolved to where we are today, where we have integrated batteries, integrated motors, integrated controllers. We've got the fat tires for a variety of terrain. We have integrated racks to be able to carry things. Full line of accessories, including bags, packs, trailers, lights, really everything that you need. So while we started in the hunting space, we've recently expanded and taken what we learned from hunting and applied that towards all sorts of different backcountry and outdoor enthusiasts. So that's where we brought in fishing, camping, and exploring. We also partnered with Jeep about 1.5 years ago now. And we have just released the official Jeep electric mountain bike, which is a full suspension version and really is designed to be the most capable electric bike ever made. So you've got all that advantages of Quietcat with the utility and the big power, as well as that legendary off-road reputation you get from Jeep.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love the fact to see like a hunting-based company succeed so much, Ryan, with, branching over to, let's call it the general public, let's say. But how did that come about, Ryan? That's a pretty big step to work with Jeep. It's a worldwide enthusiast brand.
Absolutely. So I came on board about 4 years ago now, and when I joined QuietKat, I was the only kind of non-hunter. My background is actually mountain bike racing, and I was a competitive freestyle skier. So I brought this more kind of outdoor recreation attitude, and when we looked at it, I said, you guys are going out there and harvesting animals, and that's all well and good, putting food on the table and everything, but you can only hunt a couple weeks out of the year, and there's only a few people, let's face it, there's only a few people in this country that can really hunt year-round, even with different animals and different locations and whatnot. But you can ride a bike almost year-round anywhere. So what we wanted to do was kind of branch out and say, look, we've created this incredible utility bike that is so capable of crossing this terrain and carrying gear with you. So we brought that to the Outdoor Retailer Show in 2017. Outdoor Retailer is one of the larger dealer trade shows in kind of the outdoor recreation market that is really beyond hunting. So you go to the Archery Trade Association, you see a lot of khaki, you see a lot of green, a lot of brown, a lot of bows, a lot of deer. You go to the Outdoor Retailer Show, you see those same khaki and brown colorways, but it's now hiking boots, binoculars, camping gear, as opposed to the hunting gear. So we realized there's a huge overlap. And at the Outdoor Retailer Show, Jeep actually found us. They saw the product that we were producing and thought, this is perfect for Jeep. We want to partner with you. And, of course, that partnership has really developed quite a bit over the last 18 months. And now we are really pushing very hard with the Jeep e-bike alongside the new Jeep electric vehicles that are being launched.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, will that, just speaking kind of out of the hunting box for a moment, Ryan, will that be something that Jeep will actually sell like in a dealership as well?
Absolutely. We've got about 25 Jeep dealerships across the country right now that are selling the bike. Any Jeep dealership is able to order the bike. And then, of course, we've got that same Jeep bike in a lot of our other retailers, such as Bass Pro, Cabela's, Sportsman's Warehouse, and a number of independent dealers across U.S. and Canada.
That is amazing. That's really cool. Yeah, I'd love to see that. That's so cool. Now, kind of going backwards a little bit, Ryan, tell me a little bit about how from 2012 to now, how the progress of QuietKat, some of the changes that were made. I know there's some models that aren't no longer around, let's so to speak. But, like one that I really like, and it was probably might have been right before your time, Ryan, there used to be like a scooter type QuietKat. So give me some of the progression.
Sure. So the company actually started with that three-wheeler. We called it the trike. And the concept there was to make, an all-terrain electric vehicle that was going to be much more powerful and capable than a golf cart, but something that was going to be really quiet. We wanted to replace the ATV. We wanted to replace that motorized loud cart. What we realized was the trike was originally built with a front wheel drive, a hub motor in the front wheel. And while this works great on maintained roads, on farm roads, when you got off the terrain, the front wheel drive took a lot of skill, technique, and some convincing sometimes to grab traction and really perform. And that's when we realized that the electric bicycle just had so many more capabilities than the electric trike. So we moved from 3 wheels down to 2, and then those original electric bikes, you had a battery that was strapped onto the outside. You had controllers and displays that were kind of just strapped on there. And we've been able to really fine-tune the product since then. So now, again, what you see in our new bikes is batteries that are fully integrated into the tubes of the bike. You sometimes don't even know that they're there. Same thing with the motors. The motors, we've moved from just a direct hub drive. We still have some of those on our price point models, but we've stepped up into the mid-drive motors that actually utilize some of the gearing so that you have your super easy gears for climbing up steep hills, excuse me, and you have the harder gears for reaching that top speed.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. And, I just think that's one cool thing that I've noticed about Quietcat. You guys haven't just stayed still with some of the products you've made. It seems like you guys have made a lot of advancements and just kind of kept going in the right direction, so to speak. And a lot of that, like I said, I just love because it has come from the hunting side. You guys haven't just really taken that from anywhere else. You guys have just worked on a product and tried to make it better for us.
And the big thing I would say that we've really focused on, that I've really tried to focus on as well here in the product development side of the company, is we know we can make a great performing bicycle that rides really well and allows you to do what you want to do. Okay, great. Box checked. Now what we've been focusing on for the past few years, and especially as we move forward, is the overall customer experience. So what is the customer going to do? Where are they going to go? What do they want to bring with them? And what are their expectations for performance? So that has really driven the innovation on more of our accessories, our integrated rack systems, really focusing on, what the customer is going to need. So when they're going to go out turkey hunting, for example, we just did a turkey camp with a bunch of media. We had holders set up onto the handlebars so that put your firearm right there on the handlebar and ride on out. We had bags in the back with all the calls and all the things that they would need to have with them. And then we had an empty bag so that they could actually throw a tom right on in there if they did get something and ride on back out with it. Similarly, we've got our trailers that have got a cooler that fits directly into the trailer. So we've really focused on, what is the experience the customer is looking to have, and how can we provide a full turnkey type of product that's going to really enhance that experience.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. Part of that, like you said, is so spot on. It's just having that experience and having the products available without, guys just standing around going, man, I wish this thing had that or this. You guys are really taking strides in that direction that you guys already have it. And, and Ryan, I know you said you're one of the only hunters in that group, but it's probably really advanced kind of what you see in some of the products that you can come up with for hunters, because there's so many things we're moving, hauling, trying to store, just little carriage just to throw, small little things in. It's kind of endless with as many facets to hunting as there is.
Absolutely, and to that point, I've got kind of an open door, or now it's an open Zoom policy, where all of our ambassadors, Greg Ritz from Huntmasters TV, for example, one of our longtime ambassadors, he'll get finished with a hunt. Sometimes he's not even finished with his hunt. He's just back out the cell service, and he'll call me and say, hey, I just realized ABC, and I would love XYZ. And it's incredible feedback to have from somebody with so much experience that's actually out there doing it every single day. So that has been, instrumental to us, having our ambassadors. And then, of course, everybody here in the office. I'd say almost everyone here that works at QuietKat is an outdoor enthusiast. We have, of course, quite a few hunters. Being in Colorado, a lot of elk hunters, of course. And then just in general, you look on a Friday afternoon at everybody's vehicles in the summertime, and everybody's got their tents and their bikes and their, adventure gear ready to head out for a fun weekend. So we have so many great people using the product, including our customers, that give us feedback all the time on how we can make it better, make it easier, have another accessory that solves a different problem. And we're all about taking that feedback from the folks that are using our bikes every day, actually going out into the wilderness with them, to make that experience better, especially on things like reliability. When we're going to tell you, take the bike 10 miles out in the middle of nowhere, you need to be able to trust that machine to get you back home.
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge. So let's get into a little bit of that, Ryan. Some of the parts and some of those items like the battery. Let's talk about just reliability and what we can trust with Quietcat.
Sure. So we use, first of all, in our batteries, we only use Panasonic cells. They're known for being the best, they're the most reliable, and they're the safest. So that was a no-brainer for us. Also, our motor components, our motors are built by a company called Bafang. They are the leader in high-powered electric motors worldwide. So again, we wanted to make sure that the components that we're putting onto the bike are going to be things that are reliable and have a track record. You look down at the specific bicycle components, and you've got brakes from Tektro, you have gears from SRAM, you have suspension from RockShox. So you have components that bicycle mechanics here in the States are already extremely familiar with, bike shops have inventory of, and it's something that's very easy for the customer to either repair themselves, replace themselves, or be able to get information or spare parts for it. We didn't go so far as to make so many proprietary things that become difficult and confusing for the customer. We wanted to make sure that the customer had the ability to make the repairs or make the replacements very, very easily. Along those lines, we've got, if I was counting yesterday, almost 100 videos that explain everything from how to wash your bike all the way up to how to replace a motor and controller, everything in between. So we really try to provide as much information and as much direction as we can for our customers to feel comfortable with the equipment, feel comfortable maintaining it, and understand that if something goes wrong, it's going to be able to be fixed very easily.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's amazing. I assume, Ryan, most of those videos like you could find via YouTube, or where can we find them?
We've got them on our YouTube. If you search QuietKat on YouTube, you'll find our main channel. We've got short story videos. We've got ambassador videos talking about the product, and then we have our maintenance showcase, which contains all of those product maintenance videos.
Gotcha. Now,
and we're continually adding more.
Yeah, good.
We're adding more. And
go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
Yeah, our next big project that we're working on this summer is a full library of tips and tricks. So it's everything from how to shift gears to how to get on your bike when you're loaded up with a heavy backpack. So we're continuing to produce more and more content to help people get the most out of the product.
Gotcha. Yeah, I love that. I love both those ideas. I mean, it's so important for, everybody. I mean, there's people that are totally new to e-bikes. There's probably people that are totally new to just shifting gears, and, how important it is to actually get on a bike without tipping right back over when you have a heavy, hunting pack on. So there's a lot of good stuff there that I'm sure you guys can work with content-wise.
Absolutely. And to your point, a lot of our customers are not necessarily avid cyclists. So there's a lot of things that cross over. There's a lot of things that are just, like you said, just foreign to people who are new to e-bikes or new to cycling. On one hand, it's just like riding a bike. On the other hand, there's a lot of little things that can really help you achieve a better experience. For example, a lot of people get on the bike and they start riding and they don't feel the resistance like you do on a regular bike because the motor's doing so much work. And it's very easy to find the hardest gear you own and then come to a stop sign. Well, we all know in our pickup truck, if we try to take off in fifth gear, the thing's just going to stall, right?
Right.
Well, we don't have a clutch on a mountain bike. It's a direct drive. So if you try to take off in the hardest gear, you're going to overcome a whole lot of resistance. You have the potential for breaking your chain or wearing out your components. So that's where our tips and trick video comes in, explaining things like anticipating when you're going to stop, shifting to an easier gear so that it's really easy to get back going again.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really good stuff. So with that being said, Ryan, I'm sure you guys probably have videos on this, but give me some of the baseline knowledge on just like maintenance, and even like you said, which I find very interesting, like how do I clean it? After a hard day of hunting, like what do I do to wash this thing? Like what are just some of the easy maintenance that is just in your guys' eyes kind of required for us to do?
Yeah, so I've been telling people this for 20 years now. The easiest way to maintain your bike is to clean it. For two reasons. Number one, clean parts don't wear out as much as dirty parts. especially when things are moving. Anytime there's sand within two things that are moving, we know that we're going to get friction and grinding, just like you would by taking sandpaper to it. The other thing that you gain by cleaning it is you get to look carefully and closely at each individual component. And there's two simple questions you need to ask. Is this supposed to move, and is it moving? On the flip side, is this not supposed to move, and is it not moving? So that's kind of what I recommend as the number one thing, really with any type of machine, but especially with the bicycle. Keep it clean. If it's moving, make sure it moves freely. If it's not supposed to move, make sure it's not moving, and it's torqued to the right setting. So that's kind of your intro. Then I go into some of the real basic things. It's very easy to be out on rough terrain and have your shifting just kind of get a little bit misaligned. And you go to shift the gear and you hear that dreaded click, 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 and it's not quite getting there. You reach down in front of the shifter, you turn a little dial, put a little more tension into the system, and all of a sudden the shifting is nice and easy. Likewise with the brakes, it can get really annoying when you get to the bottom of some steep hill and you've been squeezing the brakes and you got everything really hot, and then it cooled down a little bit. Maybe you rode through a puddle and the rotor cools really quickly, and now the rotor's a little bit bent, and you're getting this tick, 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 as you're rolling along. So little ways of being able to go down and straighten that rotor out a little bit or recenter things so you don't have those annoying ticks going on. That's some of the simple basic stuff. Keeping the shifting going, keeping the braking going. Those are the things that are really required to have that confidence out on the machine. So we kind of start with those basic things, and then we go all the way into, as deep as you want to go, really. Reason for that is we have a lot of dealers that are not bicycle shops. For example, Bass Pro and Sportsman's Warehouse, they sell our bikes, but you're not going to find a bicycle repair shop in the back of their store. You will find, though, trained employees at those shops that can help you with some of those maintenance things because they've taken our video seminars and kind of learned through some of that stuff. So the same content that we offer to our customers is also offered on our dealer base. So that's why we go all the way down to the nitty-gritty specifics. Likewise, we have a lot of customers that live out on farms, and they may literally be 100 miles away from the nearest bike shop. But as we know, many of our farmers are very self-sufficient. They've got a full shop worth of tools. Hopefully they have a few metric wrenches, and have the capability to follow along with the video and keep things up and running.
Gotcha. Yeah, I definitely like that. I mean, I like the fact that you guys can work with places like Cabela's and have guys that are trained. I don't necessarily, like you said, need a bike shop. And you probably agree with me, Ryan, you probably have a lot of people, like you just mentioned, the farmers that are kind of very DIY and just would rather do it themselves. So it's nice to have at least a face or somebody to talk to and kind of work you through those problems.
Absolutely. And we've also partnered with the VeloFix company. VeloFix has got mobile bike mechanics, kind of man in a van style, all over the U.S. and Canada. So we do have some great support from those partners to help us with that overall, maintenance, and then also more involved repairs or upgrades. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's great. That's good news. So give me a little insight, Ryan, in maintenance-wise, and what to do to really make sure that battery works at its fullest potential.
Yeah, so batteries are kind of like motors. They want to work. They want to run. So the best thing you can do with your battery is have a continuous charge and discharge cycle going on. Easiest way to do that is to go ride your bike. We have found that if you keep the battery charged, go out and ride it at 100%, drain it down to somewhere between 10 and 25%, plug it back in, charge it back up, the more you can cycle that battery, the better off your battery is actually going to work. We've even had some people say that their battery range seems to get better after they've charged and discharged it a few times. The biggest no-no on batteries is setting it on a shelf, especially in a cold, damp barn that's going to have massive temperature fluctuation, especially if it goes below freezing. That's going to kill your battery. It's going to just end up in a real bad day. So always keep the battery warm, room temperature. keep the battery charged. And if you are going to be storing it for a long time, for example, if you're spending most of your time on the bike in the fall hunting and you're not going to use it much in the winter because you're, snowing sideways and whatnot, not really bicycle weather, best thing to do is keep that battery at about a 65% or higher charge and keep it inside and keep it warm. If you want to go so far as to really make sure it's good, you want to discharge the battery as well over the winter. So if you're not able to go out and ride the bike by discharging it, we've thrown a bike up into a stand or lifted the rear wheel off the ground, put a rubber band around the throttle, and just let it run for a couple hours. So the worst thing you can do is not use it. The best thing you can do is use it consistently.
So when you say that, Ryan, you mean run it completely out and you can store it that way, or do you run it out and kind of cycle it again?
So you don't ever want to store a battery with zero power in the cells. That can actually cause pretty massive degradation within the cell itself. If you're going to be storing it for more than about 90 days without use, you want to be at about 65% or higher. And then if it's been 90 days since you've used it, best practice is to go for a bike ride.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, those are some really good tips, and just so important because, like I said, I think it's one of those things that it's not as simple as just getting on a bike and pedaling. It is something, Ryan, which I'm sure you agree with. You kind of have to have a base guideline, some knowledge on how to really kind of optimize and get what you want out of your e-bike.
Yeah, and I think that's true with most machines nowadays. You can go and buy a brand new Jeep Wrangler Rubicon right off the dealer floor, but does that mean you're ready to drive out to Moab and go conquer Hell's Revenge? There's like you said, there's a lot of little tips and tricks, little educations, little things that you really want to become aware of in order to have the best experience out of it. So that's where we say, it's just like riding a bike. You'll be fine. But on that same time, we've got this whole library full of videos that'll really help you maximize that experience to the fullest.
Gotcha, absolutely. So I know you guys have a bunch of different types of models of bikes, Ryan, but give me let's go over 2 or 3 bikes that I think kind of fit the whitetail hunter in mind or bow hunter in mind, from here to, Colorado, let's say. But let's cover those and kind of what we get out of them, and then I'd like to ask you, what are kind of some of your top picks that you see some of the guys on this side using as their top picks for accessories?
Absolutely. So the first bike we'll talk about is our Ranger. The Ranger in 2021 is really a full series of bikes. The biggest thing you have with the Ranger is what we call our price-conscious model. So you're getting a hub drive motor. The big advantage is that it's direct drive and it's almost maintenance-free. Disadvantages is that you don't get the use of all the gearing. Instead, you just have that single direct drive. So it's the best and, say, worst part about it. But it also allows you to get in between $2,800 and $3,100 for your base bicycle. It's going to be available in either 500 watt, which is our smallest model, our entry level, all the way up to 1,000 watt. Now, people wonder, why would I want a 500 or a 750 watt versus going all the way up to the 1,000? And the reason is, here in the United States, we have the classified electric bike system. Classified electric bike is technically and legally not considered a motorized vehicle. So that can have huge ramifications when it comes to things like compliance and where can I use my bike. Some states have rules. I think it's Pennsylvania on state hunting land. They say a Class 1 or Class 2 electric bike is acceptable, and if it's not a classified electric bike, it's not allowed. So a classified e-bike is going to have a 750 watt maximum power level and a 20 mile an hour speed limit. Class 1 is just the pedal assist, meaning you pedal the bike and the motor helps you. Class 2 includes a thumb throttle. So all of our bikes, all the QuietKat bikes that are 750 watt or lower, are going to be shipped as a Class 2 electric bike. If you need to be Class 1 compliant, you can simply unplug that throttle. So that's where you're going to see the different options and the different motor styles. If you don't have any compliance issues, maybe you're dealing with private land, you can go all the way up to that 1,000 watt bike. The great thing about the Ranger, you mentioned accessories, is with that nice price point on the Ranger, it really opens you up to piling on the accessories.
Gotcha.
The next one we'll talk about is go ahead.
I was going to say, give me a little more insight on the Ranger itself, Ryan. I know you said that the motor is kind of housed in itself, but I know you said that's some of the pros and the cons of it. So it assists you, and that's kind of it. There's no throttle. Is that correct?
So there is a throttle on it. You've got your thumb throttle, but like I said, the biggest difference with the Ranger versus our other series is it's a hub drive. So that means the motor is actually within the rear wheel, and it simply drives the rear wheel.
Okay.
So, the big advantage of that is if you somehow break your chain, well, no problem. You could just hit the throttle and get yourself back home because that motor is directly driving the rear wheel. Like I said, it's also pretty much maintenance-free. If you have an issue with it, or if it stops working or whatever, you take the back wheel off and we replace the back wheel and the whole motor assembly, plug it in, and off you go. So that's kind of the big advantages of it, other than, of course, the price point. With a hub drive motor, you're looking at a much more attractive price point, giving you a little left in the piggy bank to really accessorize.
Gotcha. Yep, that makes sense.
You're still going to get your 4.5 inch fat tires. You still get a coil suspension fork. You still get the mechanical disc brakes. And then you also, in 2021, you get the integrated Pannier Rack that comes welded on the frame.
And that's over the back tire, is that correct?
Correct, yep, and that goes over the back tire and allows you to mount Pannier Bags or strap anything else you want to it.
Gotcha. So, I mean, overall, aesthetically, it looks just like any other bike that you guys have. It's just basically that bike is just the wheel hub motor.
Correct. You still get the same integrated battery. You still get the same overbuilt frame with all the strength and all of the performance characteristics you would expect out of the Quietcat.
Perfect. So I think the next bike or two would be like in my hunting mind, I would say, Ryan, would be like the Apex and your guys' Ridge Runner. So let's go over those real quick.
Sure. So the Apex it's a big jump from the Ranger. The Apex is going up to our highest level of hardtail mountain bike, meaning no rear suspension. The Apex gets you in a mid-drive setup, which is, of course, powering the front chainring. That's the same thing that you're powering while you're pedaling. Therefore, you get the advantage of the full range of gears. So when you shift to an easier gear, just like it's easier for you to pedal up the hill, it's easier for the motor to deliver the power through the system, increasing the torque on the rear wheel so you can get up and over the steep hills or over rugged terrain a little bit easier. Likewise, you can shift it as you get up to speed, you shift down into those harder gears, and you can reach that max speed. Like we said, if it's a classified electric bike, the max speed is going to be limited to 20 miles an hour. I can tell you from experience, you don't need to be in the hardest gear to reach 20 miles an hour. You can get there pretty quickly. On the unclassified bikes, so your 1,000-watt models, the Apex also has a limited edition 1,500 watt model if you really just want the maximum power. And that's going to, like I said, it's going to give you just a little bit more variety, versatility as far as changing the gears to how you're delivering that power to the ground. The other thing you get with the Apex is an upgraded component package. So you have a wider range gearing system in the rear. You have a smaller chainring, which changes the overall gear ratio to make it a little bit easier for climbing up steeper hills and really handling very, very rugged terrain, more like we have out here in the Rockies as opposed to in the Midwest. And along those lines, you get a much stiffer and longer travel suspension fork, and we step you up to hydraulic disc brakes as opposed to mechanical disc brakes. Mechanical disc brake works great when you're on that flat or slightly rolling terrain that you find out in the Midwest or even places like Kentucky or Tennessee. When you get out here in the Rockies where you have real steep descents and you got a lot of gear with you, the hydraulic brake gives you just that extra power you need to have a little bit more confidence.
Gotcha. That's pretty cool. I don't think I knew anything about hydraulic brakes till you just mentioned that. That's pretty wild.
It's pretty cool. We've also even stepped up to a 4-piston hydraulic brake. So a lot of my friends in the kind of motorsports world, they look at it and they go, "Look at it, it's so cute. It's like a little 4-piston motocross brake." And I said, "Yeah, it looks cute, but go out there and squeeze it." And they come back and go, "Wow, this thing is so powerful. It's incredible not only how much power you have, but how much modulation you have as well to really be able to maintain the speed, like I said, when you're going down steep hills and you have all of your extra gear with you."
Gotcha. Yeah,
a lot of weight to slow down.
Yeah, that is for sure. That's a lot of energy in general, and I'm sure that just overall in those conditions, I can see why that would work better.
Absolutely. So then our Jeep and Ridge Runner bikes, they're kind of like cousins. The Ridge Runner uses a little bit different battery system than the Jeep bike, and the reason for that is that that integrated tube on the Jeep bike is a little bit shorter and a little bit smaller than our hardtail bikes to be able to fit all that full suspension stuff in there. The Ridge Runner bike uses a little bit different style battery that actually protrudes out of the frame a little bit. The advantage of that is you can get a much larger battery and you can run a little more range. So where the Jeep bike has a 14.5 amp hour battery, which gives you give or take 25 to 30 miles of range, the Ridge Runner comes with a 16 amp hour battery that's going to give you more of a 30 to 35 mile range. But both are going to be built on that. Yeah, both are built on that full suspension platform to give you the maximum capability and grip and comfort while you're on the most rugged terrain.
Gotcha, absolutely. So, Ryan, another bike that I'm just looking at is the Warrior R e-bike. That's a really good looking bike that I could see the benefits for guys in the Midwest here.
Yes, the Warrior, in my opinion, is kind of like the ultimate hunting bike. You have all of the advantages of the Apex mid-drive system with a lot of those more price-conscious components that you'd find on a Ranger system. So the Warrior is wonderful for someone that wants that mid-drive capability, but again, wants to save, a couple $100 to be able to put that into accessories.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's a good-looking bike for sure. So accessory-wise, Ryan, what are some of the things that you've seen most guys on the hunting side have really kind of gravitated to?
Yeah, so the number one accessory we've had for years is our Pannier Rack. And that's why in 2021 we've gone ahead and just made the rack a part of the frame. We know that everybody that's buying a Quietcat wants to strap something onto it and take it with them. So we've added the rack to the frame. That being said, now our number one accessory is Pannier Bags. They clip right onto the rear rack very, very easily. They've got a nice little shoulder strap so you can unclip them, climb up into a tree stand and bring the bag with you. They're fully waterproof, welded seams, roll up top just like a dry bag. So probably our number one accessory. Number two accessory would be our trailers. We have a two-wheel trailer as well as a single-wheel trailer. The two-wheel is similar in design to some of those old child haulers that you may have seen in the past.
Oh, yeah.
But it's got instead of having an enclosure where your kids would fit, instead it has a flatbed system, or you can lean the rear up and put it into what we call lawn chair mode to give you a little bit different versatility on what you want to carry.
Okay.
The single-wheel trailer is a little bit narrower. It's built for more single-track style trails, so that if the handlebars can fit in between the trees, then you know that the trailer is going to follow right behind you. Like I mentioned, our new cooler, we call it the Gore Range 50-liter cooler. It's like a thermos-style cooler, similar to one of those brands out there that's named after a Bigfoot. So it's a great multi-day food storage, but it also works well as kind of a protected, padded, and sealable compartment to haul things like trail cameras and other stuff that you maybe don't want just dangling around in the back of an aluminum trailer.
Yep, I love that idea.
So that makes for a great combination. I would say the other more popular items we have are our headlights, our Explorer series of headlights. We come in a 1000 and a 2000 version. The 1000 has one red lamp and one white lamp. And why would you want a red light? Well, aside from turning it around backwards as a tail light to make sure you have some visibility from traffic, when you're out sneaking up into a deer stand early in the morning, nice to use the red light so you can still see what's in front of you, but not have your night vision completely ruined by that bright white light that you might be shining forward.
Right. Yeah.
The Explorer 2000, same as the 1000, but you have two whites and two reds, so you get double the brightness.
And how's that system work, Ryan? Is it something we plug in, or are they rechargeable? Can we, pop them off, put them on a charger, or how does it get power?
Yep, they use their own. The lights actually have their own 18650 cells inside, so they use the same cell that is packed into the e-bikes battery. So you're going to get about 6 to 10 hours worth of runtime out of these lights, of course, based on what brightness you're on. I accidentally left one on camping overnight and woke up the next morning and the sucker was still on, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, that is.
So you can recharge, you recharge them yourself out of the wall. The other cool thing that we have on the light is an outbound USB port. So you could actually charge your phone or your GPS or any other device you have directly off of your light.
Oh, nice. Very cool. Yeah, I like that idea. That's something that comes...
It's a nice little safety feature just to know that, like, oh, man, my phone's dead. I really need to call the wife and let her know that I'm on my way home for dinner. But can't do it. Well, here we go. Plug it into your light. Give yourself a little bit of a charge. And then, of course, in those safety situations, it's a nice thing to have. Yeah,
for sure. So, one thing I forgot to ask earlier, Ryan, but let's say with the trailer on, and obviously deer hunting-wise, like what is, just safety-wise, what is kind of like my minimum or maximum, amount that I can basically throw a deer on, like poundage-wise? What can I haul with this bike that I know that I'm not in jeopardy of ruining the bike or messing the trailer up or anything like that?
Yeah, great question. So the bike itself is rated to carry up to 300 pounds on the bike, and we're rated to carry an additional 100 to 125 pounds on the trailer. Now, I say rated because we're rating that for the most rugged terrain possible. We want to make sure that the product is going to stand up as you go blasting across some things. So that being said, I've taken my colleague who weighs 210 pounds, we put him on the back of the trailer, and we rip around town off the lunch all the time. No problem. We've taken the 150-pound whitetail, thrown him on there, dragged him out along the farm road. Just be conscious of where you're going and don't go smashing right through the rock garden. Right. If you're going to be going through some cobblestone, slow it down, take it easy, don't break something. Yeah. So, the other thing also comes down to, and we get this question a lot about how steep of a hill can you climb. It really comes down to what are you confident doing on the product. At the end of the day, it's still a bicycle. It's not a car or a truck. It's not self-balancing. So what you're comfortable with is what it will be able to handle.
Gotcha. Makes a lot of sense. It definitely makes sense that, like you said, if you guys are rating something for the most rugged conditions that, on a semi-flat to good terrain, not so muddy, that you could probably load up a few extra pounds on there. And if need be, guys, it's just super simple, field dress your deer, and then throw them on before, get the guts out, get all that extra weight and fluid out, and throw them on there. You shouldn't have an issue.
Exactly. And then, like you said, you just got to be conscious, right? Like, if you're going to be riding through some super gnarly, super bumpy terrain, don't try to do it at 20 miles an hour with the thing smacking up and down back there. Like, it's similar to, again, if you're in your pickup truck, you wouldn't go 40 miles an hour across some gnarly, bumpy, rutted out dirt road in your pickup truck if you don't have, off-road suspension built to handle that.
Right.
So that's where we say, our bike is designed to handle going 40 miles an hour across the most rugged terrain, as long as you're willing to be on it. But that being said, if you had 200 pounds on the trailer and you went across that terrain at 40, it's probably not going to fully survive a trip. But film it and let me watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you probably get asked this, Ryan, and we kind of talked about some of the benefits earlier of why we would use a QuietKat, but I'm sure you get that question, like, why am I going to convert over from an ATV, UTV, or golf cart? But give me the spiel of what you answer when you get that question, because I'm sure it comes to you guys quite a bit, especially probably from the ATV side.
Absolutely, and there's 3 different, call it paths, that I can go down with this one. The first one, of course, let's talk about conservation and going green. Being an electric-powered vehicle, it's not putting out a bunch of petrol into the air. You're not leaving behind a carbon trail. You're not throwing exhaust out there. You're able to charge it from the sun. We've got solar panels you can recharge it with. So just from the green initiative there, your carbon footprint is dramatically reduced by switching from an ATV or dirt bike over to an electric-powered bicycle.
Yeah, that's great.
So that's a great path there. The next one I go down is talking about noise and scent. When, like I mentioned, when you're on a ATV, you're letting everybody within, let's face it, a couple hundred feet of you know that you're there. Blah, 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 blah. And if you want more power, well, it's going to be more noise. If there's a little hill that you've got to get up in order to get over to where your stand is, everything's fine at me. But as soon as you have to downshift and get over that hill, now everybody within a couple thousand feet knows you're there. Likewise with the scent, you're literally leaving an exhaust line that all of the animals can pick up on right away and know exactly where you're going. So by using the electric bike, getting yourself up and riding across the trail, you're moving essentially scent-free, as well as, of course, noise-free. So that makes it a lot better when you're trying to really get back into some areas where maybe the deer you're hunting have, had quite a bit of pressure in the past. Maybe the deer that you're hunting have had no pressure in the past. And you want to be able to sneak in and, have them not notice that anything has changed. So that's really a big part of it. The last one I talk about is the portability factor. Out here in Colorado, I do a lot of off-roading. I've got the rooftop tent and, overlanding. My daughter's 8. So my daughter's right at this age now where she can partake in these activities, but she's not really ready to ride a bike on a 50-mile journey. So I'll use the bike to go and scout off-road areas. And what's great is that when I come across a fallen down tree, I can pick the bike up and over the tree and keep going. When I ride back, I can pick the bike up and put it on the bike rack on my car. I don't need an additional trailer to haul the equipment. In a pickup truck, you can set it right in the back of a pickup truck. We've got tailgate pads that make it really easy to set it back there and have them secure. So just the fact that you don't need so many extra things that can cost a lot in order to just enjoy the experience. A simple bike rack or a simple pad in the back of the pickup, you're good to go. So you don't have to worry about, like I said, buying a trailer or having the right vehicle that can haul your dirt bike or ATV. And then, of course, maintenance. Maintenance on bicycles is a lot easier than maintenance on motorized vehicles.
Yeah, absolutely. All of that is 100% true what you just said, and a lot of those reasons are why myself, I'm really wanting to move over from my ATV and utilizing that on the farm to an e-bike and all those things 100%. Just from being quiet to being scent-free to being a little more greener myself and trying to take care of the property and manage the property, I'm hunting better. Just so many benefits. And one of those things, just unloading and loading ATV, hooking up a trailer. For some of us, we have to store that stuff somewhere else. To me, just the benefits kind of in the end pay for itself. So all those points, Ryan, I think we're spot on.
Absolutely. You mentioned storage. That's probably one of the toughest things out here. where we're at in the Rockies, some people have ranches and barns and they've got plenty of room for all their toys. But there's a lot of us that don't have that luxury. And so like you said, being able to store your bike, even in the house if need be, in a closet somewhere, as opposed to having to, rent a space or expand and to have a space to be able to keep it.
Yeah, absolutely. So before I let you go, Ryan, let me know real quick, dealer-wise, how do we find what we're looking for, who to go to, and, or do we deal with Quietcat just direct? How's all that work if I'm looking for an e-bike today?
Absolutely. We've got all sorts of options for you. The first place I'll direct you to, of course, is QuietKat.com. You're going to find all the information on all of our models. You're going to find all the information on inventory. And then you can also hit our dealer locator to find somebody near you, especially if you want to go get your hands on it. Some of our dealers also offer demo opportunities so you can go and actually ride on the bike itself. I should mention Bass Pro, Cabela's, Sportsman's Warehouse, Sportsman's Guide, Shields. Most of those locations do have the bikes in stock, so I encourage you to head on into one of those nearby so that you can see it firsthand and really get a good idea of how capable the machine is. We've got an internal sales team here at QuietKat.com, so you can always give us a call, talk to one of our staff directly. They can kind of get you dialed in on exactly what's going to be the best product for you. And then, of course, the biggest thing that we've got going on right now is inventory. We've been affected just like everybody else in the outdoor world. The best part about Quietcat is it's looking like we're going to have inventory this summer, where a lot of other bike manufacturers are looking at fall before they're even going to get bikes in. So if you're in the market for an electric bike, now is the time. Don't wait. Give us a holler. We'll get you dialed in.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, Ryan, I appreciate your time today, and thanks so much for just kind of giving us a big overview of Quietcat, from the history to the progression and everything in between. I really appreciate it, and appreciate what you guys do in driving forward for us in the hunting community to give us better products. And, I can't wait to actually get on a Quietcat soon. That's my goal for this year. And, hopefully, Ryan, with some new stuff comes out or during hunting season, we can hop back on and do this again.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thanks for having me. And, as I say at the end of all my videos, can't wait to see you all out on the trail. Absolutely.
And, guys, as you know, you can find us every week, iTunes, Outdoor Podcast Channel, Amazon Music. And, as always, deer season never ends. We'll see you guys again next week.